like to welcome everybody to our call today. My name is Chris Gullo. I'm a Royal Diamond out of the United States. I'm going to be hosting this along with my cohort in Oslo, Norway, Morten Andersen, who's also a Royal Diamond. And today, I am really honored to have a really special guest that's going to be with us, having a conversation about Nikken and its history and what we're all about. Nikken is a legacy company. That's what I call it, legacy, that we really have impacted the world. Wellness wasn't even a word. We were using wellness many years before that became the big buzzword of the world. Wellness is not only from a health point of view, but financial. It's all about what we call 5 pillars of health, which we're going to be talking about today with our really super special guest. So I want to tell you a little bit about our guest. Larry Proffit goes back all the way to the beginning of the history of Nikken, back in 1974, 75, maybe a little bit before that. But Larry, you can tell us a little bit about that. But he was there with the original founder, Isma Masuda. He has a great story around that, how he got started, about how Humans Be More came about, why 5 pillars of health is so important, and about the legacy that this company really has and going forward here. So I really want to give a very warm welcome to what I feel is the godfather of Humans Be More, Larry Proffit. Larry.
Hey, thanks. That's quite an introduction. I don't think I've been introduced as a godfather before.
Well, you know what? I tell you what, you're it as far as I'm concerned, Larry. You serve as the Executive Vice President for Training, but you know what? It's really a lot deeper than that. It's really about who we are, what we're all about, and why we do what we do. So, Larry, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
So, Larry, let me ask you, I got to start this with just saying that, you go back, and a lot of people on the line here really maybe not know the history of Nikken when it first started, that kind of thing. Some of them have never seen Isma Masuda. Would you kind of give everybody kind of an overview? How did Nikken really get started way back in 1975 and earlier than that? Some people really just don't know about that, and I think that's really sets the ground for who we are and what we stand for.
Well, a little history then may be relevant. I'm almost hesitant to mention the dates. I thank goodness for Photoshop, right, Chris? That photograph that I'm showing. I'm not as old as I look, right? But way back when I was an engineer at GE, I got interested in network marketing just to earn some extra money. And the company that I associated with, the owner of that company believed that his most important product was people. And he had put together probably the most comprehensive training program ever put together. In fact, companies that are still operating in personal development came from that original group. But that company, we had some tremendous success with it. In 1973, that company sent me to Japan to start their sales and marketing operations in Japan. And in December of 72, a man by the name of Isamu Masuda, who worked as a desk clerk in a bus barn there in Japan, had his first child born with a very serious physical problem. And Mr. Masuda recognized that he was going to have some extra money, more than he was earning as a desk clerk, to be able to provide his son with a normal life, with the operations he was going to need. Well, in March of 1973, I had flown to Miyazaki, Japan to interview prospective distributors for our company down there. I was doing training, but we needed to interview the people before they became members of it. We needed to know who we were getting, and they needed to know what they were getting. And one of those people that came in for that interview was Mr. Masuda. He'd heard about this new concept called network marketing, and he thought this might be the answer. So he decided that was for him. We liked what we saw. He joined that company and immediately became just a fantastic success. And in fact, in a short period of time, we designated him to be one of the trainers for that personal development program that we were doing way back then, and eventually made him vice president for the field operations in southern Japan. Well, what happened is the owner of that company was killed in a plane crash, and they changed their management. I left and started a consulting company. Mr. Masuda left, and in March of 1975 started a company called Nikken. And my first client for my consulting business was Nikken. What Mr. Masuda wanted us to do was to help put together this training program for his company that would also put together this important concept. His concept was this: a company is just a piece of paper in some registrar's office. If a company is going to grow, the people have to grow. And so Mr. Masuda wanted to have a personal development program put together, the forerunner of which is the Humans Being More class now. And what happened as a result of that, we were able to put into effect his own personal philosophy. He recalls that his mother had whispered in his ear from the time he was just a little boy that if he was going to have a peaceful, joyful life, he would need to live a life of balance. So now he's getting a chance to build his own company, and he wanted it founded on what he called the 5 pillars of health: healthy mind, healthy body, healthy family, contribution to society, and healthy finances. And so that was really what happened. And stayed over there for 3 more years, came back to the United States and just did occasional trainings. He'd fly us over there to train his people, or he'd bring them to America and we would train his people. And in 1989, he decided, we were constantly begging him in all that time to bring the company to the Western world, North America, because it had done so well in Japan. But his concept was, no, the Westerners aren't ready for this holistic approach. They won't accept it. But in 1989, he was finally convinced that it would work, and he selected as one of his, as the managing director, his close friend, Mr. Tom Watanabe, who'd also been a distributor and a trainer in that company. So in 1989 is when it started here, Taiwan, and in Brazil, the largest number of Japanese outside of Japan was in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Well, that was the beginning of it, and in fact, maybe I ought to share, Chris, that one statement that he said changed his life, because in 1990, he held his first international convention in Brazil. We executives flew over there with our spouses, and as we were leaving, Mr. Masuda came up to me and he said, "Do you remember what you told me when you interviewed me in March of 1973 in Miyazaki, Japan?" And I didn't have a clue. I didn't even remember interviewing him, much less what I'd said. I said, "No, I don't remember." And he reached into his pocket and pulled out a laminated 3x5 card, all written in Japanese. I couldn't read any of it, except I could read the bottom of it. It said, Larry Proffit. And he said, "What you told me in that interview changed my life." Well, I was feeling pretty special. I wish my mama could have heard that.
Right.
And I was smart enough, though, to ask the translator to translate what it said. And what it said was this: in order to become the person you wish to become, you must first think, talk, walk, and act as if you already are that person. Well, I recognize that because I've been using that for years. I'd listened to Earl Nightingale's Lead the Field series, and that was one of the most important statements that I gleaned from what his recordings told me. Well, Mr. Masuda said it changed his life, and what that did is it's a humbling thing to recognize how important it is just to show up. If I had missed that interview, what would have happened, for example? And it wasn't that I had any great insights. It's that because I had done what my mentors told me to do, to layer in all that information that I could, that when it came time to interview him, he evidently said something that triggered that from my computer, if you will, between my ears. And he said it changed his life. Well, I thought that was a very significant thing about how there is no such thing as a little thing. But then that's how the company started. When they brought it to America in '89, they asked me to help head up their training programs, and I've been involved ever since then. So that's kind of a really fast history of the Masuda legacy for the company.
Well, that's really amazing, Larry. You know, I've heard that story before, but could you repeat again what was on Ismail Masuda's card that changed his life? Say that one more time.
Yeah, and this is one of those things that if we can emblazon it in our mind, our subconscious, put it wherever we can see it. It's one of those powerful statements that Earl Nightingale, and I'm sure he was just quoting somebody else, but it's this: in order to become the person you wish to become, you must first think, talk, walk, and act as if you already are that person. It's called the act as if principle. It's a powerful concept because the decision is to first be. Then you can do, and then you can have. But it's first got to be that decision between your ears, if you will, that decision from your very core. This is the kind of person I want to be. And then you think, talk, walk, and act, and that's what makes all the difference.
That's really amazing. I can ditto that. I really believe that I've mentioned that Nikken was a legacy company. You know, there's a lot of things that you could do. You know, my background myself, Larry, is in corporate, and I went from a corporate executive position to network marketing. And I think it really had, and one of the things that attracted me to Nikken was that core belief of being more than just what is expected of you. You know, it's being more. It's kind of like humans being more. And you and I have had numerous conversations about this, even in the last 30 days, Larry, about, we have great products. We have a great company. We have great markets all over the world. But it's kind of like, what's the most important thing? What's the most important product that we have? Is it the products themselves that do amazing things for the health of people, that change their lives? All right. Is it the business itself that gives a person an opportunity to go out there and be more of who they are, so to speak? And I would have to say, is, if you really look at this, is being more than all of that above, because there's a lot of positions out there that you could take, or a lot of different opportunities out there that people could get. But I can tell you right now, there's very few opportunities out there that really gets to the core of what a human should be and hitting it the maximum potential. And I think that what that statement was really that hitting that core of being the best you can be at whatever you want to be, and picking a vehicle that can help change the world and have an impact. And that's, I think, what the opportunity of Nikken is all about, is hitting that core button there. So, having said what I said, Larry, humans being more, what we currently have is humans being more. You know, there's a lot of different kinds of people. I'm more analytical, background. When I first got involved with this, going to humans being more wasn't, I wanted to be more, but I thought I already knew, a lot. So I said, well, I don't know if I need to go that humans being more thing, because that's just, that's just stuff. And, I've been to a lot of lectures and a lot of personal development, but what makes humans being more so special, especially with what we do, Larry? Why should people really be attracted or should go to that?
Well, one of the big challenges in that act as if statement, think, talk, walk, and act as if. The big challenge for most of us is, that sounds so great, but how does that entrepreneur that we want to be, how do they think and talk and walk and act? What are those core values? What are those principles that help that person become all they can be? Mr. Masuda, I had got a call a few months ago from one of the consultants in network marketing who was doing work with some other companies, and he said, hey, I just want to know, how did you come up with that slogan, humans being more? It's kind of the envy of the industry. And I said, that Mr. Masuda says that's what he wanted his slogan to be. And the most important reason for that is he had already recognized what had happened for him personally, how his whole life had been changed because of a new way of thinking, a new way of being. And so that's where that he recognized that what this whole course, this just a two-day course, can do to help people capture a why, if you will, what a purpose for living can be, getting into balance, being true to their core values. Because if they're not, he called it the heart message. People have got to speak from the heart. And if they are not, all it is words. It isn't, people don't even remember words. What they remember is how they felt when they were around you. And that's why that was such an important concept for him. One of the things he wanted to make sure we always emphasize in that class is just the concept is be, do, have. First, be. And that takes just a decision. But the challenge, how does this Royal Diamond or Royal Ambassador, how does this human, self-actualized human, how do they think? How do they make commitments and keep them? How do they persist? What is the importance of persistence? What is the idea of even setting goals, focus, dedicate? All of those concepts are so vital, and yet most of us never even heard about them. I never learned them in school. They didn't teach them at the university I went to. The concepts were brand new to me when I got involved in network marketing. And this is what Mr. Masuda recognized. The majority of the people in the world today, and it's probably less than 5% that even have these concepts, that they're even aware of them. And so he recognized right off that the most important thing for a person in this business is to first, they've got to make the decision to be all that they can be. And then as they start to act and do that act as if statement, walk, talk, walk, and act as if, then those things can happen just automatically. But they've got to make sure that they're dedicated, that they're disciplined, that they have a plan. And that was the whole concept behind the humans being more class. The most important thing that comes out of that, in my opinion, is the life cycle plan, where they're able to capture in visualized in a picture form the kinds of things they want to be, do, and have. And that's the big transformation, because until that happens, the outside world doesn't change. I think that was just a master stroke on his part.
Well, I tell you what, I believe it goes back to what you made a comment relating to speaking from the heart, Larry. You know, there is a major difference, and I think everybody listening to this call, whether it's recorded or not, knows that there was some time in their life when they heard someone speak from their heart, okay? It could have been a lot of different scenarios that could have came from, but you know when a person speaks from their heart, they're telling you their belief. It's deep. It's not just blah, blah, talk, you know, I got something, whatever. They really believe it is people, and it's communicated so that people go, whoa, all right? Everybody has heard someone who's done that. And we have something, Larry, that is a gift that we can give people, and if we just speak from the heart, as you were talking about, then it's not only believable, but people are attracted to it, all right? And that's really the essence to me of Humans Being More. The first time I went to Humans Being More, Larry, I mean, I can tell you right now, I got out of it and I was going, wow, you know? And I said, I think I need to go again. And because a lot of times people that say I don't need that kind of workshop are really the people that need it because we're missing it. If you look at the top people in the world and the people that make the biggest impact, if you ever listen to them speak, whether it's a top politician or it's just one of those guys that started a big company, the guys that speak from the heart are the ones that attract, and those are the ones that make things happen. And I think that what we need to do is learn not only speaking from the heart, but speaking it from the truth point of view, and that is how we believe. I really do believe that, Larry.
Yeah, you're exactly right. In fact, one of the other slogans that Mr. Masuda liked and captured was, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And one of the things that Humans Being More class does, it helps you take a look inside where you really decide, am I really about service? Am I really about making a difference in people's lives? Or is it all just about me? And that's one of the most important concepts. You've probably heard this many, many times. What you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear a word you're saying. And if we're just getting the words out, that's not what they even hear. It's how we feel about what we're doing. And that's why for all of us, the most important step we can take is to make sure that we understand at a deep level what the philosophy of the company really is, so that we can espouse it, so that we can feel good about the message that we're delivering. And the other statement, this is why this class is so critical, he says, you are the message. It isn't just delivering a message, it's that he wanted us all to become the message itself by how we think, talk, walk, and act. And, right. And basically that's just a decision. Once we decide what that is. But then I've also discovered, and one of the publishers of Success Magazine made this statement. He says the biggest problem with people in network marketing is they don't know how to think as entrepreneurs. And his concept is their first 7 days in network marketing, that's what they need to work on. What is it that separates an entrepreneur from a corporate person, for example? How do they start to say, if it is to be, it's up to me? And how do they decide to work with a team? How do they start to look at personality traits and what will help them become a people expert? As they start to understand themselves better, then they can understand the world better. And it's that old story, you know, if I change, the world will change. But it's got to happen with me first. And that's what he wanted incorporated in that Humans Being More training class. It's just a way of life. I think that was the critical message, so that we are being the message.
You know, Larry, we talk about why. You know, you have to discover your why, and some people get confused about what that really means, okay? You know, if you had a cause, if you're, you know, people do things for free if there's a good cause. I mean, they'll actually work for free for causes, you know, and of course we have the opportunity to build and do whatever we want to do. But tell me your explanation of why is it important to have that why to accomplish your life goals and to have that purpose-driven life. You defined it as you see it.
Well, I just recently had an interesting experience. Some of you may be familiar with a movie that was produced about the California girl, the surfer, who had her arm bitten off by a shark. And she was being interviewed on one of the big TV shows here. And after they found out all the things that she was doing around the world to inspire children and adults, they asked her, well, if you could go back to that day and not have your arm bitten off, would you like to go back and redo that? And she thought just very shortly and said, no, not really. She says, I have been able to make a difference in the lives of more people than I ever dreamed possible because of what happened to me that day. And my son, as I was sharing this with him, he's a mentor in a school district here, coaching teachers, and his comment, well, you see, Dad, you see how it is? People would even give their right arm to be able to make a difference in the lives of other people. And I think that probably is what nails the why. Once we get past the, okay, we've met our financial needs and our spouses now think we're special and we now have our self-esteem, the thing that seems to be the most important for all of us, we really would like to make a difference in the lives of other people. Well, what we found, and this is what I'm sure you would vouch for, is this is the, if you would say, the perfect storm. The products, the compensation plan, right, the philosophy, there is no company on the planet today that has it all wrapped up in one package to make such a huge difference in the lives of people. And in fact, one person says there are few rewards in life that bring more joy to a human being than bringing joy to the life of another human being. And that really comes from making a difference in their lives. As I've thought about what it is that I prize the most, my biggest why is to know that I've had some influence, particularly in the lives of my family, but in the lives of people that I meet because of the legacy of Mr. Masuda.
Yeah, you know what? It's really amazing, and I'll agree with that, Larry, because I've seen a lot of companies, and I used to analyze companies, and I was analytical myself, but I have never seen a company that, I know there's a lot of companies out there that do a lot of things for the people that work with them, but Nikken, in the history of Nikken, in my understanding, worldwide, goes out of their way to really help people understand what all these principles mean with humans being more than 5 pillars of health. But I like to bring it back down. I like to bring it back down to our business. Okay, now we have a business here that actually is the vehicle that allows us to grow and be more and have balance. So, Larry, getting back to our core, okay, so, all right, so this is great. The philosophy is great. The humans being more is great. Having balance in life, that's great. So if I'm brand new and getting started, how does that relate? I mean, there's a lot of things, we help people get started by having things like what we call the 21 Club, and then we have the Paragon Award, which are all about achievement within the business side of things. How do you mix these together? I mean, is it one or the other, or is it both?
Well, I think it's, people do things for their reasons, not ours. Right. Our challenge is to find out what their reasons would be. One of the things that I've had the most success in introducing Nikken is to talk a little bit about the philosophy of the 5 pillars in a brief sense, talking about healthy mind and healthy body, what the mind manifests, what the body manifests, the mind harbors, and how how interconnected mind body is. But at the same time, does stress affect my life because of financial problems, or how are my family relationships? Are they? And what you start to realize, these 5 pillars are so interrelated that each one of them impacts the other. And so what I always like to do is explain, would you agree that balance is important? And then say, which of these 5 areas do you think needs the most work for you in your life? And most people will say it's the finances, because there is so much financial pain in the world today. But a lot of people will tell you, well, my family relationships. Well, I'll tell you, if I could just have better communications with my children or my spouse or whatever it is. Or the other one is just physical. Some of them hurt so bad it's hard to even sleep at night. And so the question then that I love to ask is, well, which of these would you like to work on first? And that's what I introduced, how I introduced the company to them. It's like having 5 different doors that they can enter. We had one person who didn't seem to have a problem in any of the areas, except when it got back to the social contribution. His feeling was, in his real estate business, he didn't really feel that area of contribution and making a difference. And that's what he was looking for, and that's the area he came into the company. But there's so many of them, I mean, especially in the economy today, that just lost their job, and guess what their first need is? They need to make sure they're going to be able to pay for their car or their rent or bring food into the table. So I like to ask them, where would you like to concentrate first in this area? That's where we'll get you started. And then immediately enrolling them into humans being more, because that really is the ultimate thing about it. Until they have a really deep belief system about the value of what they're doing, all of the mechanics don't make any sense anyway. And that's why helping them discover, what is it that I really want to have in my life more than anything else right now, so that I have a really solid why. In fact, we quote this many times. He who has a why, he can suffer the how. But if I don't have a why, what happens is all these little picky-uni obstacles that come up may say, oh, I don't think it's worth it, rather than understanding that that's just part of the process. Having challenges is part of what this whole process is about, how we grow. And that was a big difference for me personally. I needed to have a big paradigm shift in the importance of having, well, some people call them problems, but they were challenges that I needed to be able to address in order to grow.
So what I'm hearing, Larry, is this: is that if you're getting started in Nikken and you have challenges, those challenges really mean that there's some aspects of who we are that we need to improve on?
Yeah, just give you one specific example. Most of us spend too much time in front of the TV. We come home tired, and just acknowledging that maybe if I got myself organized where I could find 10 to 12 hours, the biggest challenge then is getting out of my comfort zone. Some of us are forced out of our comfort zones, but a lot of us think that life doesn't have anything else to offer. Why should I strive to be more? I should be satisfied with what I have. One of those quotes from Earl Nightingale, again, really changed my life. He says, "Beware of the contented man, for he will not pay the price improvement requires." And then he goes on to say that our job is to disturb complacency, help people see the higher view, help them realize that they're not helpless, that they can change what they have in their life. And we've all heard this statement: if you continue to do what you've always done, you'll continue to get what you've always got. Is that enough? And that seems to be one of the big challenges, is to help people. That's why the Humans Being More class is so valuable. I liken it this way. Have you ever tried to push a string? It's pretty difficult. So I now have my friend involved in the business, but he can't do anything unless I'm there giving him direction or telling him what to do. But if he had his own fire inside, if he could find his own light, then I don't have to push the string. He's pulling it himself, and he has his own motivation. That's the real challenge. Zig Ziglar makes that famous quote. He says there's three things that are hard to do. One is to climb a fence that's leaning towards you. The other is to kiss a girl that's leaning away from you. And then he says the third one is to help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. And that's the real challenge that all of us have, is finding people who want to make a difference in their lives, who are not happy with where they are, or at least have the opportunity to see what they can really do to make a difference in the world and make a difference in their life and that of their family. I think that's probably one of the biggest insights that I got early on. It's not about me. It's finding out what it is that will help them be more of who they really would like to be. And then it's a constant growth process. 1 month from now, it changes for them, and then the next month it changes. That's why we always recommend that people continually go back to the Humans Being More class, because they change, and now it's a whole new class for them. I know that that's the real key. That's why Nikken exploded the way it did in those early years, was because of that class changing what people saw as possible in their lives.
Well, Larry, just to close out here, I will say this, is that a lot of times, and I've experienced this myself, and because of Humans Being More, I've basically programmed myself for the things that I don't like to do or am most uncomfortable with. That's when I know those are the things I need to focus on more, because in order to grow, you cannot grow without going into uncomfortable territory. That's what growth is all about. So when I see something hard to do, or it's frustrating, or I'm not getting what I want to get accomplished, or anything that deals with being uncomfortable and not moving like I want to, those are the areas I believe I needed to focus in on. And it's one of the things that Humans Being More really helped me. And Humans Being More, as you said, is not an event. It's not something you go to once. It's a process. And that's what life is all about, is a process. So
I've heard you
really
say this, Chris, that the difference between success people and average people is the success people are willing to do the things that the average person is not willing to do because of exactly what you're saying. It's not comfortable.
Right. Well, Larry, I really want to thank you for coming on. It's a real privilege and honor to me because you're the history of Nikken to me. You're the person right now that we can actually talk with that experienced the beginning. Okay, and when we know where we came from, then we understand why we're heading where we're heading, and we're only hitting just less than 1% of the whole world having an impact on helping people with their health, helping people with their finances, helping people being more of a human. Okay, which is a legacy of this company, and so I really want to thank you for being here, for sharing your knowledge and sharing the legacy that Nikken has. And really, we hadn't even started yet in Nikken. I mean, you and I have talked about this. We're such a diamond in the rough still, even though we've been around for some time. We have light years to go, and it's amazing the growth that we're going to be experiencing over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So I really wanted to thank you for coming on and sharing that with us.
Well, thanks so much for the invitation, Chris. I really do appreciate it.
All right. Okay, Morten, I'm going to turn this back over to you. I want to thank everybody for being on. As we have recorded this, and you can share this with people in the future. They can come on our site or download it and get it themselves. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Morten, to close out.
Sure. Thank you, Chris, and thank you so much, Larry. It has been really amazing for me to listen to this. And I do look forward to meeting you in Las Vegas next week.
We'll see you there.
I know there will be a lot of Europeans there also. That would be just great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Morten.
See you later.
Bye-bye.